Welcome to the Becoming Body Smart podcast, where we unlock the secrets of sustainable health and fitness and help you master your health habits. If you're tired of quick fixes, generic blueprints, and chasing short-term results, you're in the right place. It's time to become Body Smart.
So, Ruth, we're this topic is for Nathan. Not completely, but he's what helped inspire it. So, hopefully he'll be able to listen to it. So we'll have to send it to him if he doesn't hear it right away. Anyway, I don't know, how's everybody's week going? It's Thursday. For my kids, it was Friday last night because they have off today and tomorrow. Oh, there's Nathan. Perfect. Nathan's hopping on. Woohoo! So, yeah, this one's for Nathan. So, no, this is great. Whenever you have something that you want to learn more about, please let us know because we can talk about it on the next call. So, Marc had an appointment with Nathan a little while ago, and they were talking about things, and he's like, you know what I want to know more about? And so now we're going to talk about it. So that's great. We always need help coming up with new topics. So anything you want to learn about is always fun. So yeah, thanks for hopping on, everybody, and let's get started. So we want to talk today about when to know how to make that transition from doing body weight exercises to when it becomes like necessary or important to start lifting heavier weight. What are kind of the key indicators of when you're ready for that transition? What are kind of the goals of each type of exercise? And how do you make each effective? Those are kind of some of the things we want to hit. So to start off, I would say body weight exercises are an important part of any training regimen because it's a great way to make sure you can do the exercises safely. It's a great way to start out where you can help avoid soreness and build some baseline strength for avoiding injury and really getting started. But to get strong enough to be able to do all the things that we love to do and have the kind of strength and stability that we need, often adding extra weight, especially if we're wanting to participate in more dynamic activities. Sports participation, especially any sports where you're running, cutting, jumping, things like that, then we definitely need to add additional weight in for those types of things. And then just for life in general, if we're always working at the edge of our capacity, then life becomes very fatiguing. If we can increase our capacity by loading it during our exercise, loading ourselves up so that our capacity grows, then when we do our normal daily routine or even our activities, then it's well within our capacity and we can really thrive. And so it's important to learn the basics, to know how to do the exercises with our body weight before we really start loading it up. But there's a time and a place for doing both. Now, that being said, it's not that you can't still get a good workout, even if you're really, really strong and can bench press a truck or squat an incredible amount of weight. I was trying to find a funny analogy and I couldn't find one. But even if you can squat a bunch of weight, things like that, you can still get value out of body weight exercise. It's a great way to go back to the basics, or there's still ways that you can do it and challenge yourself. So changing the angle or the balance or there's a lot of ways to make them a little bit more difficult. If a standard push-up is too easy, maybe doing an elevated foot push-up or trying like push-up hand placement variations to emphasize your tricep more or things like that. There's a lot of ways you can mix it up. So even if you're incredibly fit, there is still a way to use body weight exercises for sure. What were you saying, Marc?
I said, or a clap push-up.
Or a clap push-up, yeah, we were doing that. Or a full body hop off the ground push-up, like Marc was doing yesterday. So like I guess I would say there's never a time in which body weight exercises are bad. You may have to do a lot more volume of them or switch up how you do them to make it a little bit more challenging. So if body weight squats are becoming pretty easy and aren't really challenging, and you have to do 100 of them to really get much value, switch to a single leg squat, or work on the balance of progressing towards a pistol squat or something like that. There's still a way you can use body weight. So the reason why I want to emphasize that is you don't need equipment necessarily to get a really, really good workout in. Anywhere you are on the planet, you can still get a really good workout in with just body weight. So don't feel like you have to have a gym or you have to have bands or your equipment to be able to get a good workout in. There's still so many exercises you can do with just body weight. That being said, to get, like I said, more sport specific movements, or to really train to lift heavier and things like that, you can accelerate the workout so that it doesn't take as much time, and you can really overload it to build up your capacity by doing more, weighted exercises. So, yeah, that transition and how to do that is important. So, Marc, you want to comment to that, like how to know when to make that jump?
So Cameron brought up a really good thing, right? Is body weight exercises sometimes to get enough volume to have an effect, like it ends up being a lot. And so a great rule of thumb is any specific exercise that you're doing body weight, if you can do more than 30 reps and still feel like pretty dang solid, it's definitely time to start adding some weights in, right? Because beyond about 30 reps for any given exercise, you just fatigue of those muscles and of the nervous system actually starts to rise. Some adaptations that we're looking for. And so if we use like that 30-ish reps as a range, that can be really helpful. Another thing to consider is, again, like Cameron said, what are the types of activities that I need to do? And so let's say that it's like I want to be able to go, backpacking in the backcountry. Well, if I'm going to do that, I need to be able to do several miles with a 40, 50-pound pack on my back. And so to make sure that you're ready for something like that, then you're going to want to go above and beyond what you'd be doing for the specific effort. So, for example, like if I'm going to be carrying a 40, 50-pound pack, then, can I squat 100 pounds, or can I carry 100 pounds on my back? Or, what are some of the things that are going to prepare me for that? Or let's say that I want to be able to, when I'm skiing, I do a jump and then I come down, right? Well, that's more than just my body weight alone, because we're adding the extra force of gravity pushing down as I come on that drop. And so to be able to handle that landing and slow down quickly enough, we need to have a lot of strength in our legs. And so some of the weightlifting exercises are really effective at preparing our bodies for that and doing that with weight. And so whatever the movement, it's funny because I'm actually bringing up a couple examples that I talked about with Nathan. But another one was being able to pull a 70-pound bow back. Again, if you want to be able to do that, then being able to consistently do multiple reps of more than 70 pounds is going to prepare you really well for doing something like that. So I think those are both a really great way to gauge it. If there's certain activities that we're going to do that just require more strength or to be able to lift or move heavy things, then we're going to want to include that in our training so that we're prepared above and beyond what we ever face. It's that same idea of load versus capacity, right? We want our capacity to be much greater than the loads that we'll typically go through on a given day or for a given event or activity, right? And so
Totally.
I think those two are really crucial rules. If it's more than 30 reps, and then what are my activities going to involve? If I can think about it in that way, then that will help me know, like, if I need to include more weightlifting activities in as well. Another thing to remember is in all the body weight activities that I'm doing, do I have good control, right? Can I do them slowly and control it all the way down, or like, let's say a push-up, can I control all the way down and all the way up, right? Any movement, can I control it through that whole range of motion that I need for that movement in body weight? If I can do that and I'm pain-free, then that's another great cue to be able to move on and move up to the next level.
Yeah, 100%. So the other kind of element of control that I think is really critical, and why overloading with our strength training, where we load up our amount of weight or whatever that we can do for a certain lift so that we can grow our capacity. Why that's so important. If you go back to like the drawing a bow example, if you're drawing a bow and it's a 70-pound bow, the whole point of drawing a bow is to let the arrow fly. If you can't, if you're right at the edge of pulling a 70-pound bow as much as you can do, you can't control the bow at that point. If 70 pounds is as hard as you can work, you're not going to be able to have that arrow go where you want it to go. So if you can get to where you could pull a 140-pound bow, then the 70-pound bow is no big deal. And you can aim it accurately and fire accurately because you have that control instead of shaking to pull it, right? And so same idea, if you're trying to put a glass bowl up on an upper shelf, and that's about as heavy as you can lift to get something all the way up on a top shelf, you don't want to be shaking putting that bowl on the shelf. You don't want it to fall and hit you on the head or break or whatever. Or pull a bow sitting versus standing, Nathan said. Yeah. Well, yeah, different positions, different, if you're bow hunting, I don't know how many bow hunters we have out there, but if you're bow hunting, like you may be up in a tree stand or a blind, or you may be in all kinds of different positions to be able to get the shot you need. Doing that in different positions, you need a lot of strength. But I think there's a million examples of other kind of life situations where you want your strength to be much beyond the capacity of what the activity is going to require, so that you have the control over that movement, so it's not right at the edge of your capacity. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of injuries happen in sport and in some of our daily activities, is we're working so close to the edge of our capacity in the activities that we love to do, that any kind of change up in the forces of that activity wind up overloading us beyond what we're currently capable of handling. And so that's why overloading ourselves during our training makes our capacity in our performance of the things that we love to do so much greater. And so transitioning to strength training, where you can start building up that capacity using external weights is really important. So there's a lot of different ways you can do that as well to make that transition. One of my favorites is a weighted vest, being able to put on a weighted vest of different weights so that you can build up your capacity of doing some of those body weight exercises, push-ups, pull-ups, squats, dips, things like that, with that weighted vest is a great way to transition without having to learn the mechanics then of holding on to a bar quite yet. So that's a great way of still being able to get a good workout in using that. Then there are always like wrist weights, ankle weights, things like that you can use as well. But then eventually, to get enough load, you're really going to have to transition to using dumbbells, kettlebells, and barbells. And really, really effective, though, you can add a lot of weight really quickly, and there's a lot of new exercises that opens up, and being able to target certain muscles that opens up. And so lifting weights, I would argue you really can start that even at the very beginning. You don't necessarily have to get to a certain level in your body weight exercises before transitioning. It's kind of like with anything else, just start with where you're at. So it may be that you're going through the motions with a 1 or 2 pound weight. In fact, for a lot of shoulder exercises, even high level baseball players, volleyball players, things like that, I'll often start them out with a 1 or 2 pound weight, just because that is about where we want them to be able to control that movement and demonstrate pain-free, controlled movement before we really start loading it up. And so, especially with arm movements where they're high velocity and with kind of the weight is clear at the end, the weight of a baseball or the weight of a volleyball is clear at the end of a really long lever arm. It makes the forces in the joint itself really, really high. And so we want to make sure that they can control that with a low amount of weight before we start loading it up with heavier weight. But once they have made that transition and we can show that they're doing that safely, we can start bumping the weight up and up and up. And so you really can start at anywhere where you're at. Even if you're starting day one, you can add weight in. It's not bad to do. You just want to make sure the form is there. So often, do a set with just body weight, to show that form. But there's certain exercises like bicep curl. The form on that typically isn't that terribly difficult. There's some nuances there for sure with any exercise of ways to make it more effective or whatever. But you can start a bicep curl, for example. It's hard to do body weight wise, and you can start that right off the bat. But like the nuances of a front squat versus a back squat with a bar, things like that, that will take some time to kind of get used to and learn and learn how to do safely. So, but doing, just a bicep curl into and holding dumbbells and then doing squats that way is a great way to transition. Oh, here's Marc. Perfect. He's here in person, so we don't have to keep switching back and forth. Yeah, really, if you have the weight from the beginning, it's just building that up slowly. So really, if you want to and have access to weights, you can start at any time, and we just start really light and build up from there. But if you feel like you're building a pretty good base of strength with your body weight exercises, I would say start mixing in some weight, start really light, see how you feel. We want to avoid too much in the way of soreness, definitely want to avoid pain, but some, with lifting weights, some delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS is what they call it, is to be expected. That's pretty normal and is okay. If you get some DOMS, where it can start about 12 to 24 hours after exercise, you can start to feel sore. If it's much sooner than that, it's probably more than just DOMS. But 12 to 24 hours after exercise, you can feel some soreness, usually gone within 48 hours. If it's beyond 72 hours, you probably overloaded that in some way and maybe had more tissue breakdown than is normal. You probably want to go talk to somebody about that. And by somebody, I mean us. So that we can help make sure that everything's going okay and that we didn't, have a setback, and we can keep you going and get back on track as fast as possible. So yeah, but 24 to 48 hours of soreness is pretty normal.
Yeah. And then, like you said, the nice thing is as we get used to doing weights, our body adapts, and we typically get that less and less. And so that actually is another great reason to start including weights even early on, is it gives our body a chance to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
A couple things you might notice. So for bigger lifts, words. So lifts where you're using like a lot more muscle groups, right? Your quads, your
compound
butt,
lifts,
right? Compound lifts. I could not remember that word today. Oh my goodness.
It has more than 8 letters.
Yeah.
Does it? I don't know.
So
nope.
You're probably going to be pretty sore in those muscles themselves, and then some of the bigger stabilizing muscles for that, right? So the strap muscles along your back. For exercises that you have a lot more of the stabilizing muscles. So what I mean by that is, like, let's take the shoulder, for example, and I'm holding a weight out there. Like, there's just a lot of smaller little muscles that help to control the arm, right, in space. And so, like, those will probably be a little bit more sore because they're smaller and they're having to do those fine tuning motions to keep that out there. But again, like, we want to include compound lifts and some of those other what we call accessory lifts, right? Where we're using some of those smaller muscles, because that just helps to make everything a little bit more robust. And so, as always, with any exercise, and I already talked about this, is can I maintain control with that weight, right? When I'm moving it through the full range of motion. If I'm struggling to do that, then that's a really good idea to kind of drop back down, right? We don't need to get weights, but just do a little bit less or change something in the volume, right? Maybe I do fewer sets, or maybe I do fewer reps. I see this all the time, and this is definitely more common among men than women, but it's the vanity lift, right? And it doesn't benefit anyone. No one thinks you're cooler for lifting a ton of weight, and your body will not thank you for doing that. And so, like, I see it all the time with bicep curls, right? Like, I don't use crazy heavy weights most of the time for that, right? Like, I would say on average, I'm using like 20, 25 pounds when I'm doing that. A lot of people are like, oh, I want to get like 40, 50, 60. Like, you're probably not controlling that the way that you should be or the way that you think you are. And a lot of times we end up using our back, or we like lean forward and we're trying to use some of the like muscles in the front of the shoulder. Like I want to be able to stand, with that as an example, I want to be able to stand straight, control that all the way up and all the way down. And so just, that's another caveat as you're lifting any weights is like, don't let vanity get in the way of you making consistent progress.
And staying safe.
And staying safe. And then back to that progress point, and this is another key to transition, is if you've been doing the body weight exercises and like you're no longer progressing in like how many sets you can handle or how many reps, again, you've passed that 30 reps, like that's another good signal. Is just like, hey, I've been doing these and like I'm not feeling like more energy, I'm not getting faster, I don't feel like I'm getting stronger or more able. Like that's also a really good indication that, okay, yeah, it's time to add some of those things in so that we can keep progressing.
Yeah, the overload principle. And then another, kind of key feature of a lot of our body weight exercises they are more compound movements. So we're doing exercises that are, working multiple muscle groups. And so they're good for that. And we really like it for that. But sometimes depending on the activity that we're training for, and we always say that, like, try to have a reason why you're exercising. It makes the exercise a lot more motivating and more fun if you have an activity that you're basing that around, or a series of activities you're basing that around, versus weightlifting and strength training and running and whatever just to lose weight or get healthier or things like that. That's not very fun, not very motivating, and we see a lot of ebb and flow of people's workouts. So if we pick specific things that we want to train for, specific activities that we want to train for, it makes it more purposeful, more meaningful, and a lot more fun. And gives us some direction on what we want to do with those lifts. And so another great way of thinking about the compound lifts or things like that in body weight versus adding weight, adding external weights to it, is I can isolate certain muscles and muscle groups better often with adding weight, versus most of our body weight lifts are compound movements, compound exercises. And so they require a lot of different muscle groups. And so if I have an activity where I use a lot of like shoulder motion, hitting a ball, or with a racket, there may be certain muscles that you want to strengthen in that to help with injury avoidance or performance improvement or things like that. And so taking a look at that and saying, how do I isolate those specific muscles, like my rotator cuff muscles, if I'm an overhead athlete? How do I isolate each of those rotator cuff muscles and strengthen them up is going to be really important. So a lot of that depends on what you're trying to do with your workouts as well when you want to make that transition from body weight to weights.
Yep. And so that's really the idea that strength is specific, right? Like,
yes,
we can have just our general foundational strength, which is super important, right? Like, so that we have enough power that we're not tripping and falling, and so we can do the basic things. But yeah, like, to be able to do those things, and that's part of why we want you to forecast and say, like, what are the things that I want to be able to do as an 85-year-old, right? What are the types of activities? What are the types of lifestyle things, so that I know what I should be doing now? Because when we have that clear goal, when we have that clear direction, then it's much easier to make our exercises specific, so we get strength specifically in those things. And so, again, like Cameron said, though, body weight is never a bad exercise, especially for like plyometric exercises.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of those are when we add too much weight to those, you see people get injuries. And so, like, often like a box jump, that's so that's why a weighted vest is nice. So when we're just using body weight, I just want to talk real quick about like some of the ways that we can progress that without necessarily having to do weights. Cameron mentioned like the weighted vest can be nice.
Yeah, weighted vest, ankle weights,
single leg, right, or single arm exercises. We can add an element of instability to that, right? So we're like on uneven ground, and we've got to add a little bit more of the control there.
Go outside on grass, foam, things like that.
Yep. A bunch of like different surfaces, different environments, so that we can really make sure that everything is shored up and where we want it to be. And so, like, if you don't have easy access to weights, let us know. Like, there's a lot of different ways, but we actually might need to add these videos in. They're in the pain courses, but I don't know if we added this in. Is progressing the load. It is in there. Never mind, I just remembered. Anyway, if you have any questions on that, let us know. But hopefully this gives you some good overall ideas of the benefits of body weight, the benefits of weights, and when to know when to use each.
Yeah, just making that transition and making those decisions of like, how do I know when I'm ready to progress or how to progress or things like that. It's important that you understand so you can stay safe and that you're not spinning your wheels. The whole idea is that we keep making progress, because maintenance is really just slowed down decline, right? And we're going to decline anyway with age, right? We've acknowledged that. But if we can slow down the slowing down, and that's what we're really after. So the more we fight to improve, the more we're going to slow down how quickly we slow down. And that's the idea. If we can keep that going versus trying to maintain our fitness, we often see our fitness drop off the cliff. So let's keep on keeping on with slowing down.
I love that. No.
Yeah. Anyway, so hopefully that was helpful. Nathan, hopefully that worked in answering some of your questions. I know you and Marc already discussed it somewhat, but yeah, we love helping answer those specific questions. So whenever you have one, please let us know. We love being able to either research it if we don't know, or kind of share with you what we've learned over the years of helping people live that fit, healthy, active lifestyle. So perfect. Thanks for joining us on the call today, and we look forward to seeing you bright and early Monday morning for another call so we can help you stay healthy and live not just longer, but live better. And we'll catch you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Becoming Body Smart podcast. If you have questions, thoughts, or want to continue the conversation, reach out to us on our socials or join our community. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It helps us bring you even more valuable content. Remember, sustainable health is a lifelong journey, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Live longer, live stronger, and become body smart.